Hi, it's almost Christmas time, and by almost Christmas time, I mean today is 15th of November, and typically people start on their fruit cakes much earlier than me, but honestly, I'm a coward. I don't believe in keeping food for that long, like long extended periods of time. And although I know fruitcakes need to mature for longer, personally, even doing a month early is just being very ambitious. I wanted to wait until literally November 25th, but then I remembered last year I did start my Christmas cake on November 24th, but then never got the time to edit and post it because December is a busy season. So this time I said, let me try a little earlier, and it's also because it was suggested by one of my subscribers and students, Celia. She told me she watches each and every of my videos and she wants an updated Christmas fruitcake. So let's start on the Christmas content then. So for me, as advised by someone on TikTok, you need a glass jar, because I used to just soak my fruits in a plastic container. Since I don't soak mine for extended periods of time, I usually just soak what I need. But this last year I did that, just soaked enough for when I needed them, and then I kept getting orders later. So this time I've just decided to just get the glass jar and pre-soak them early. And the reason I was told not to use a plastic container is the alcohol. I prefer to use rum for my fruitcake, but I know I think you can use any liquor, like any dark liquor. I prefer to use rum because that's what I was taught with, and every fruitcake I've personally liked has been made with rum, and I always go for the cheapest rum available. I have no preference. My preference is price point. I just go for the cheapest one. This was the cheapest one at the supermarket when I went. Although I know there's cheaper rum, but this was what was cheapest that day. So back to the point. The reason to use a glass jar, I was told, was when the alcohol sits in the plastic container after some time, it might start to react with the plastics, and that might end up not being food safe. So if you don't have a glass jar, I would just recommend you pre-soak your fruits for a short period of time, like I used to. I just used to do 6 hours to max 24 hours. It's a pretty simple process. So all I do is just put this is raisins and sultanas. I like buying a pre-mixed one. That way I don't have to do the mixing myself. And the reason we add alcohol is to rehydrate them. Once you fill your jar with your fruits, this is 1 kilo of raisins and sultanas, and this is a 750 ml bottle of rum. So just drown your fruits in the alcohol just to rehydrate them. I grab my spoon and squeeze them so that everything is literally under the booze, the rum, so that, because they'll still swell up as they rehydrate. It's not that hard. It's just basically fruits in a glass container, and then just seal that until when you need them. From what I know is you can soak your fruits, from my learning, minimum 6 hours. It takes me, with the rum, it takes around 6 hours for me to start noticing any change. So I pre-soak mine for around 6 hours, and then mostly I don't do 6 hours, I do overnight. So 6 hours to overnight to 24 hours, but I know you can pre-soak them for up to 6 months, since alcohol doesn't go bad as far as I know. The raisins and sultanas might be what might go off fast, but I'm not really sure, since from most of the packaging I've seen for these things, it's usually 1 year. I don't know if it's true. They last for just 1 year or longer. They just want us to keep buying. So I never soak mine longer than 6 months, and that's why I prefer to do it in small batches. That way I don't have to have pre-soaked raisins for up to a whole year, since I might not get to use them the entire time. In case you don't take alcohol and you still want to enjoy the wonderful fruitcake, we'll just do a very small batch, since I have zero intent on using this. All you have to do is same process, rehydrate your dried fruits. So that's too much still, use very little, and then soak these in either hot water or hot tea. Either you can use juice, you can just rehydrate them in literally anything. The only difference is I would not do this for a very extended period of time. Because of the hot water, I find that this take from 30 minutes to, not hot water, hot liquid. I find they take between 30 minutes to like 3 hours. The longest I've ever left them is 3 hours. So I will show you a before and after, since I've saved some. So basically that's all. So if you don't take alcohol or don't want to use alcohol, just soak your fruits in either hot water, tea, juice, whatever. I would rather use tea, like flavored tea, not just plain tea. Like, what's a flavor I like? Apple, cinnamon, hibiscus, whatever type of tea you like. Yeah, just pre-soak them and let them rise for just a few hours. And with this, I would probably just do it the day I am making the cake, since especially with something like juice, yeah, just make them the day you need to rehydrate them and use immediately, because they don't need to be stored for that long. It's the next day. For the raisins that I did soak in hot water, this is the difference. This is the ones I did not hydrate. These are still in the packaging, so quite dry. I don't know if it's so clear, but they keep falling. But anyways, and then these are the ones I soaked in hot water. So that's the difference. They're really like mushy compared to, like, this is a sultana and this dry sultana. So you can pretty much see how different they are. This not soaked, this is soaked. So they're very rehydrated. They'll be very juicy once they bake. And then for the ones in alcohol, so this one is soaked in alcohol compared to that one, so you can see very well hydrated. Basically that's the main reason for soaking them or pre-soaking them, just to rehydrate them. When I'm starting on my fruitcake, typically I don't know if I consider mine a light or a rich fruitcake, because I genuinely only measure my soaked fruits. I don't tend to measure my other dry or rather other fruits. This is mainly what I will consider in my measurement. And for a 1 kg cake mix, I usually use between 300 and 500 grams of raisins, and that would depend on the client. Sometimes I might only use 100 grams because that's what the client might want. I am not picky, I just go with what the client says. And if they don't want too many, that's when I do like 100 to 50. But if it's just like I am making for friends and family, I will go with 300 grams per kilo. And for this time, I am doing a 3 kg cake mix. I'm doing a 3 kg cake mix, so I am planning to use 900 grams of this. So basically, technically the whole container. So I do take off all the water or all the liquid that I had soaked my fruits in. I reuse it basically, technically, but I don't measure it, so that the fruits, what I'm weighing is just the fruit, not fruit plus the other ingredients, or rather the liquid. Whatever is left here, I'll just leave it soaking for however long. I might just end up reusing before Christmas. Into this, I will add mixed peel. I think, honestly, mixed peel is my favorite ingredient in a fruitcake, especially when it's very orange flavored like this is. I love the mixed peel, so I will definitely be putting a lot of it. After adding my mixed peel, I add red and green cherries. Although, to be honest, I'm not a really huge fan of cherries. I don't even think they're sweet. They just taste rubbery, in my opinion. But they make the fruitcake colorful and very Christmassy, so I always add them. And then I will just mix this up in this big bowl so that each part of the cake can get each of these things that I've added. I know so many bakers won't agree with my opinion on this, but I always add my raisins, my fruits for fruitcake at this stage. I don't add them with the flour. I just typically always add them after my eggs, and it has always worked out for me. And I guess it's because what's it called? The fruits will get the flour on them quicker or much better if I add them at this stage as opposed to like dusting them first. But this has always worked out for me. I've tried that one for dusting, for folding in, and they always sank, but this works for me, and God forbid this is the only time this won't work out, but I'll just do it how I always do it. Luckily these are not clients' cakes, so they can't backfire.